Hey guys, it's Mrs. Brown on her couch again, and today we are doing ancient Greek geography. So to play along with this video, you will need to print out this map that you can see. It's on your seesaw, and you're also going to need a pencil and some things to color with. You will need blue and green and brown. So if you want to pause this while you go get those things and get set up, I'll wait. Welcome back. All right, so we're going to take a look at what the geography of ancient Greece was like. Before we start labeling, this is an actual map, like a satellite map of ancient Greece. And there's a couple of things I want you to notice on it. First of all, if you look on the inside, you can see there's lots of things that look like mountains. Greece is full of lots of mountains, which means it's hard to get from one side of Greece to the other side of Greece because there's mountains in the way. Now, the other thing I want you to notice is that there is a lot of water and islands around Greece. So you can see all these little islands around here. Here's the water. What this meant for the ancient Greeks was that they were really good at sailing and traveling in boats on the water, but they were not so good at traveling over land. Okay, so they would have little groups of different people in ancient Greece all over, and they didn't really consider themselves part of the same country. They were just Greek because they spoke the same language. So things that were easy or good in ancient Greece were traveling by boat. Things that were not so easy were traveling over land. So ancient Greek water. There were three main seas that surround Greece, and we're going to label them. The first one is down to the south of Greece, and this is called the Mediterranean Sea. So we're going to label it Mediterranean Sea. You might remember the Mediterranean Sea from when you learned about Egypt last year. So I'm going to write it and spell it so you can write it on yours. It's going to go right at the bottom of my map. So it's uppercase M, E, D, I, T, E, R, R, A, N, E-A-N, Mediterranean, C-S-E-A. So that was the big one. And if you were to go through the Mediterranean Sea, you could run into other places such as Egypt or the land of Canaan or Northern Africa. Or even if you went far enough, you could hit France and Spain. Now the two smaller seas that are next to Greece are the Aegean and the Ionian. The Aegean is to the east of Greece. So we're going to label it on that little teeny section. My writing is probably going to be a little bit big because it's hard to do this with the stylus. So Aegean is A, E, G, E, A, N. There's Aegean. And C, uppercase again, S, E, A. So the Aegean Sea hit Greece, and on the side of it over here is Turkey, and that's also where some places where the Greeks traded with were over there. We're not going to label Turkey, we're just going to know where it is. The other sea that's on the other side of Greece on the west is the Ionian Sea. So I'm going to start with uppercase I, O, N, I, A, N, and then C, again, S, E, A. So those are the three different seas. The Ionian Sea, if you were to keep going that way, you would run into Italy and Rome. So now that we've labeled the seas, take a moment to color them blue. And depending on how carefully you want to color, I cannot color carefully with this stylus. But if you are a careful worker, you can get all the way in between all those teeny islands. All of those little islands were part of Greece. And we can color up here. This is the north part. Okay, so take a moment, pause if you need to, and color the rest of your seas blue. I'm going to then clear the seas out of the way so we can see to label the rest of the parts. So take your time, color carefully, work well. All right, now we're going to label some of the important things on the land of Greece. Now, on your map with your brown, mine isn't brown, it's gray, just play along. On the map, I want you to draw some mountains over the inside of Greece. That's just to remind us that it's a very mountainous region. But there is one mountain that's right up here. I'm going to draw that in a different color. Let's choose red. There is one mountain that's right up toward the top. You can see it's right near that little curvy area of land, and that was the name. That was one of the biggest mountains in Greece, and it was where they thought the gods lived. It was called Mount Olympus. So let's label it, and then I can show you a picture of it. So Mount is uppercase M O U N T, Mount. Olympus, uppercase O L Y M P U S. Mount Olympus. Let's take a look at the picture of it. Whoa, look at that Mount Olympus. Pretty cool, huh? Obviously the Greeks wouldn't have seen it from this angle. They would have seen it from down below. But that is where they imagined that all the Greek gods lived. They thought most of them lived in a little area on the top of the mountain. So you can picture that as you draw your Mount Olympus. We'll be hearing a lot more about Mount Olympus as we get into Greek mythology. All right, a couple other important cities in Greece that we're going to label. Now, as I mentioned before, they didn't consider themselves one big Greek country. The thing they had in common was they all spoke the same language, which was Greece, but it was more like they thought there were lots of tiny little countries that were near each other. But there are a couple of them that the cities are most well known of all of the ancient Greek cities. Now, one of them was Athens. And Athens, if you look down here, there's a little teeny thing sticking out there. That's where Athens is. So we're going to label that uppercase A T H E N S. Athens was a Greek city-state that really valued learning and democracy. A lot of the ideas we have today about how government works comes from the people of Athens. So they valued philosophy, learning, and things like that. There was another city that was somewhat near Athens that valued different things. They're down here on this part of it, and that was Sparta. So let's label that first. Uppercase S P A R T A. Now, the Athenians valued learning and philosophy. The Spartans valued warriors and valor. So for them, their military was the most important thing. So important that actually most Spartan men spent a lot of their grown-up lives away from their wives and living with the army. They were very good fighters and very effective. That was their most important thing for the Spartans. A couple of other important places is, if we look right to the north of Sparta, I'll put a dot there. This is a city called Delphi, sometimes pronounced Delphi. Let's spell it. Uppercase D E L P H I. I hope your handwriting is better than this. Delphi was most well known because there were oracles that lived in Delphi. Oracles were a little bit like fortune tellers or prophetesses. So if you had a question, you would come to Delphi and you would ask the oracles your important question, and they would answer you. The answers were a little bit mysterious, so it was hard to tell sometimes what they meant until afterwards. But when we read in Greek mythology, several of our Greek heroes will go and visit Delphi and ask the oracles what happened. So it comes up a lot in Greek mythology. The other city I want to mark on our map, so I'm going to mark the city first, and I'm going to tell you a story about it, and then I'll tell you what the name of the city is. So this city is right near Athens. It's not in the water. There we go, right in the end of Athens. Now, here's the story about this city. Many years ago, there was a story in ancient Greece that there was a war going on, and there was a runner. Here, we'll draw a runner dude over here. And his job was to run all around the countryside, trying to get soldiers to join the Athenians in battle. He ran down around Sparta. He was trying to get people to help them in this battle. He actually, according to the story, ran about 75 miles a day for a couple of days. When the battle ended and the Athenians were victorious, this runner ran in one day the 26 miles from Athens to this other city. This runner's name, by the way, is Theodippides. There's statues for him in this place. And after that 26 miles from Athens to that city, according to some legends, he had run so much that he died. But the name of that city was called Marathon. Uppercase M-A-R-A-T-H-O-N. And you might recognize that name Marathon because we currently remember that story by a race that's called a marathon. The distance from Athens to the city of Marathon is 26 miles, and that's how far a marathon race is. So those are some of the main cities that we're going to see in our studies of ancient Greece. We're going to see some other ones as well. But let's look at some pictures real quick. This is some of the countryside around Greece as it is today, but it would have looked similar in ancient Greek times. You can see both the mountains and how, even though there's mountainous, they were still able to grow things. You can see some of the fields here growing wheat. So even though Greece was mountainous, they were still able to grow the crops they needed. There's also, this is slightly fuzzy Athens, as it is today. You can still see some of their most well-known temples, like here's the Parthenon, right up toward the top here, and some other Greek things. There's a modern city of Athens as well, but that's the part that still remains. And finally, let's take a look at, here is Sparta. Now, you can see that the areas of Sparta, since they were not so invested in learning, their architecture didn't last as long. So there are some places in Sparta that have ancient ruins. These are actually probably less ancient than the times of ancient Rome, but not a lot of their actual cities remain to this day, just because they didn't work as carefully on building up their cities. They were working on building up their armies instead. So I hope you've enjoyed our introduction to ancient Greece and its geography. We will be using this geography as we learn about ancient Greek mythology, which will start pretty soon. So hopefully your map has been finished. You can color in the rest of the land green, since you've colored in the oceans blue, and upload it to Seesaw, and I can't wait to see what good work you did. Good job. Talk to you later.